So in part 7, the second uh, portion is about project life cycle. So successful completion of a project is not, it calls for a series of tasks to meet stakeholder and clients' requirements. A lot is involved in the process before the project reaches the completion phase. No matter what type of project you are working on, having comprehensive knowledge about the project management life cycle, project phases or process groups is essential. It keeps your ongoing projects more organized and more viable to execute from ideation to completion. A project management life cycle, or simply a project life cycle, is a 5-step framework planned to assist project managers in completing projects successfully. The project life cycle includes the steps required for project managers to successfully manage a project from scratch to finish. There are 5 phases in the project life cycle, also called the 5 process groups: initiation, planning, execution, monitoring and control, and closing. According to the project management body of knowledge, the project management life cycle should define the following aspects: what works needed to be achieved, who will be involved in the team, what are the project deliverables, how to monitor the performance of each phase. So the first phase is initiation phase. It's understanding the project goals, deadlines, priorities, and associated tasks. So we can tell the project initiation is the first project management lifecycle phase where the project starts. It provides the overview of the project along with the strategies required to attain desired results. It's a phase where the feasibility and business value of the projects are determined. The project manager kicks a meeting to understand the client and stakeholders' requirements, goals, and objectives. It's essential to go into minute details for having a better understanding of the project. Upon making the final selection or final decision to proceed, the project can move on to the next step, that is assembling the project team. And during that time, the project charter is constructed, and it is considered as the most important document of any project, as it comprises business vision and mission, project goals and benefits, list of stakeholders, scope of the project, project deliverables, risk associated with the project, project budget, and resources. So the steps in project initiation, starting with the feasibility study, identify the project scope, identify project deliverables, identify project stakeholders, develop the business case. So undertaking the feasibility study in the initial stage, it is essential to understand the feasibility of the project, see if the project is viable from the economic, legal, operational, and technical aspects. Identifying problems will help you analyze whether you can resolve issues with appropriate solutions. Identifying the project scope, it involves defining the length, breadth, and depth of the project. On the other hand, it is equally essential to outline the functions, deadlines, tasks, features, and services. Identify the project deliverables. Upon identifying the project scope, the very next step is to outline the project deliverables. So it includes defining the product or services needed. Then identifying the project stakeholders. A thorough identification of the project stakeholder is essential. It is better to have a meeting with the team members and experts to identify project stakeholders. Documentation of relevant information on stakeholders and their impact on the successful completion of the project is required. And then finally, develop a business case. Before developing the business case, check whether the essential pillars of the project such as feasibility, scope and identification of stakeholders are in place. The very next step is to come up with a full-fledged business case. The creation of SOW, that is statement of work, and the formation of a team wrap up the project initiation phase. Second one is project planning. A lot of planning related to the project takes place during this phase. On defining project objectives, it is time to develop a project plan for everyone to follow. The planning phase frames a set of plans which helps to guide your team through the implementation phase and closing phase. The program created at this point will surely help you to manage cost, quality, risk, changes and time. The project plan developed should include all the essential details related to the project goals and objectives and should also detail how to achieve them. It is the most complex phase in which project managers take care of operational requirements, design limitations and functional requirements. So some of the components of project planning phase are creating a project plan. So we can tell a project plan is the blueprint of the project. Creating a resource plan, it provides information about various resource levels required to accomplish the project. Budget estimation, framing a financial plan steps you to set the budget and deliver project deliverables without exceeding it. Gathering resources, it's an essential part of project planning as it helps to monitor the quality level of the project. And finally, anticipating a risk and potential quality roadblocks. The risk plan will help you identify risk and mitigate those risks. It will compromise all the potential risk, the order of severity, the preventive actions to trace it or track it. Once threats are under control, it is possible to deliver the project on time, adhering to quality. Then comes execution. The project execution is a phase where project-related processes are implemented. Tasks are assigned and resources are allocated. The method also involves building deliverables and satisfying customer requirements. Project managers or team leaders accomplish the task through resource allocation and by keeping the team members focused. The team involved will start creating project deliverables and seek to achieve project goals and objectives as outlined in the project plan. This phase determines whether your project will succeed or not. The success of the project mainly depends on the project execution phase. The final project deliverables also taken shape during the project execution phase. We can tell there are a lot of essential things that can take care during the execution phase. Some of them like project deliverables, test, accept, approve, changing management documents, measuring the project activities against the plan and performance baseline, identify the risk and keep the project on track. Then comes monitoring and control. The project's monitoring and control phase is all about measuring the performance of the project and tracking progress. It is implemented during the execution phase. The main goal of this phase is to check whether everything aligned with the project management plan, especially concerning financial parameters and timelines. It is the responsibility of the project manager to make necessary adjustments related to resource allocation and ensure that everything is on the track. To help this, a project manager may conduct review meetings to get regular performance results or performance reports. Monitoring project activity after the project execution phase will allow the project manager to take corrective actions. Meanwhile, considering the quality of work will also help to make the necessary improvements. Keeping an eye on the budget will help to avoid unnecessary expenses and resources. Then comes the final project closure. With much time and effort invested in the project planning, it is often forgotten that the final phase of the project management life cycle phases is equally important. The project closure phase is the final phase of the project management life cycle, which is also known as the follow-up phase. Around this time, the final product is ready for delivery. Here, the main focus of the project manager and the team should be on product release and product delivery. In this stage, all the activities related to the projects are wrapped up. The closure phase is not necessarily after a successful completion phase alone. Sometimes a project may have to be closed due to a project failure also. Upon the project completion and timely delivery to clients, it is the role of the project manager to highlight the strength, list the takeaways of the projects, identify the ambiguities or confusions, and suggest how they could be rectified for future projects. This is the reason that generally I tell in the class that every actions that you are performing with respect to the project should be documented. Taking time to recognize the strength and weakness will help to handle projects with more dedication. This in turn builds the project manager's credibility. Once the product is handled to the customers, the documentation is finalized, the project team is disbanded, and the project is closed. So there are some characteristics of project life cycle. So at the start, cost and staffing levels are low and reach a peak when the work is in the progress. It again starts to drop rapidly as the project begins to halt. The typical cost and staffing curve does not apply to all projects. Considerable experiences secure essential resources early in the life cycle. Risk and uncertainty are at their peak at the beginning of the project. These factors drop over the life cycle for the project as decisions are reached and deliverables are accepted. The ability to affect the final product of the project without impacting the cost drastically is highest at the start of the project and decreases as the project advances. So let us conclude that how the project life cycle knowledge will benefit the organization. It helps professional services teams to be more proficient and professional, profitable. The project life cycle helps the organization. It makes the flow of communication easier, and the knowledge emphasize reporting and examining previous projects. So these are all the project management process, the 5 phases: initiating, planning, execution, monitoring and controlling, and closing. The 10 knowledge areas: project integration, project scope, scheduling, project cost, quality, human resource, communication, project risk, procurement, and stakeholder management. So in the 4th edition, there are around 42 processes. 5th edition, it increased to 47 processes, and the latest edition, in 6th edition, we can find it around 49 processes. So integration, coordinating activities across all project management areas. Scope, ensure the project work includes all elements required to complete the work. Schedule, ensure the project work is completed in a timely way. Cost, plan, estimate, manage, and control project finances. Quality, ensure the project deliverables a quality output that is fit for purpose. Resource, secure, manage, and monitor use of resources throughout the project. Communications, ensure communications on the project are planned and carried out appropriately. Risk, identify, assess, and manage the risk. Procurement, carry out purchasing and contracting as required. Identify stakeholder, identify and engage stakeholder throughout the project.